Yeah, I was just saying to both your points, you have to learn how to share, and you have to learn that sharing doesn't mean that you get less. But when you have been in a privileged position and you've never had to adapt and share, you're less likely to think that sharing doesn't diminish my space and what I get. Um, and also, like you said, Shereen, it's so easy to put people in disability box, in the LGBT box, and then tackle one thing at a time. But the interesting thing about race and the interesting thing about ethnicity and color of your skin is it's attached to all your other identities very visibly. So if you're being discriminated by one identity, it's usually a complex connection to everything else. So when you look at LGBT and disabilities, the Black community is still suffering the most in comparison to their counterparts who may be South Asian, white, and so on. You look at socioeconomic and class, I mean, I'm not going to pull up numbers here, but there's enough research by OS and all that out there that the Black community still, even within lower working class, they still suffer the worst. They still have more challenges to work their way up the ladder because there are those many systemic inequalities. So I just think when you provide for the people who are worst off, you automatically are leveling the field up for others who may be at different levels in being worse off in comparison. But yeah, this mentality I get well because obviously I'm a migrant, so I'm an expat. I'm not even like I'm paying my way. And I have to show 5 years worth of savings, and I'm okay with that. I think, yeah, great. Why should I live off the system and other people's money, right? I have self-respect. I don't think anybody from any community that is underrepresented expects to live off the system.
No, we're just
in every culture. People just want fairness and equality, to be treated like human beings, who, like, I can notice people who talk to me like I am a whole person versus people who talk to me with my skin color being noticed. Like, I can see this, and a lot of people can notice this, the difference in the conversation and the approach. So it's too obvious, just that it's not recorded, so you can't prove it. So you're always at a disadvantage when trying to make the case that it just makes good sense to provide for everyone. Because are you just tolerating my presence, or do you actually like having me around?
And that's, do you know what, that's a really good point, because I think we've been in, that's the thing about the tolerate. That's the point. It's the tolerate point. And listen, I've been in meetings. Listen, I did a webinar a few days ago where I was not acknowledged by one person on the panel. Everyone else acknowledged me. We had to talk. It was noticeable, right? So one person did not acknowledge me at all, even though, and I'm very good because I'm in the moment, right? So I'm very good, and I will pick things that different people say, and then they were like, thank you, Shereen, you do the thing, you do the thing, you do the dance. Yeah. One person, very obvious. And I know this because a couple of people reached out to me and said, oh, it's great to have you. It was such a shame that, right? And the thing is, in these situations, there are people who organize. I'm just using that as an example. So I'm going to use this example because when white people say to me, but if I had seen something like that, I would have said something, right? But guess what? People saw that, right? Other people saw it. The person who ran the event saw that. At no stage, even though I mentioned it, because I'm like, I can't not mention it. Jesus, look at me, I'm on my Black Lives Matter piece. Of course I'm gonna pick up everybody on every goddamn thing. So I'm gonna say it. Under no circumstances did that person turn around and say, I'm gonna pick up. So when people talk to me about, oh, it wouldn't have happened, yes, it has. But what happens is you're thinking about your position and you're going, is it worth me speaking up for Shereen in this instance? Because it doesn't really affect me. So, I mean, and she looks all right because, she can fight her own battles. So, oh, I know it's really poor. So there's no apology. There's no, I'm going to go and pick up with this individual. This was a few days ago, right? There was none of that. And that is a classic example of what it is to be Black. Because in that situation, guess who's got to put up with it? Me. I can be the one to put up with it. Just like when it's happened to you, Leanne, you've got to be, listen, Leanne lives in Sodden, Munich. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, like, just like, you know, you got to be the one to put up with it. Sabah, people will say things to you, and we just think, you know what, the battle is not worth fighting. But in us not fighting our battle, it's also apparent that other people are not fighting the battle either. Right. So,
and that's another point. So back to your point about the boardroom, and you know, I'm not reducing what Alexis Ohanian did by resigning from Reddit, but had they just made more space, they'd need somebody to be able to advocate and support the Black board member, because it's all well and good having a Black board member, but if she's not able to make decisions, if it's a majority thing, if they have 9 people against them and the 10th member, where's the success in that? What's the point apart from it being an optic?
And that's the thing. And so I saw that. That's I've forgotten his surname, Alex, but it's Serena Williams' husband, isn't it, who stepped down from Reddit. Yes, and I did think to myself, oh man, like, do you know what? That does not help the struggle. It doesn't help, because what that message says is the only way for Black people to get what they want is if we step aside. So what he did, no matter how well-meaning and well-intentioned, and everybody's like, yeah, and I'm like, no, because there are some people that go, shit, this is what I've got to do. This is what I've got to do. So what you're telling me is, like, yeah, I care about Black Lives Matter, but I ain't giving up my job for them. I'm not giving up my job for them. You know, can you imagine? Like, I'm not doing it. No. You are not going to.
No, it just confirms exactly what they're worrying about, is that for Black people to prosper, I'm going to have to suffer or give up something in some way. And I think, you know, this is to your point, Leanne, as well, and to yours as well, Shereen, when you talk about the silence, the white silence, right? It's like, I understand being married to somebody white, that there's a lot of discomfort and fear about being disowned by your own when you speak up in support of somebody else, you know. And I get the fear, but the fact is that
they can afford to feel the fear, can't they? They can afford it. That's the point. Sit in your fear.
They have a lot of power still, but the thing is that if you yourself are not wanting to stand up and do what's fundamentally right in terms of allowing for equality and fairness to exist, you cannot claim to be anti-racist. You cannot be claimed to, you know, to be better than others at supporting these kind of things, whether it's racism, whether it's equality for people who are disabled or from the LGBT community, and so on and so forth. So equality demands of everybody that they have to get braver. I mean, we are going out on a limb here, and we're having these honest conversations, full well knowing that we will be shunned by some people that we know now, we may have known in the past, that there will be recruiters or clients looking at our profiles or whatever, going not so sure.
Oh my God, we'll be going. No, thank you. No, thank you.
We know all of this. I mean, my parents are going, before the call, right? My parents go, are you sure you want to be speaking about these things? I mean, I made a comment around Dr. Shola's post yesterday, and it's like, it's caught fire. And
I responded to that.
And, you know, I try to respectfully respond to these kind of things, but I was like, whoa, I did not know the colonialism and talk of pulling down statues, you know, that of people who once owned slaves and ran businesses around human beings treated like cattle. Like, this is offensive to some people. I just thought the most natural thing that you would be offended by it. You know, I didn't realize that people feel their culture is attacked. And so I get the other side, but what I want to say to people in these leadership positions and HR positions is, like, please try and you know, tackle the fear that we live and fear, and the Black community lives and fears every single day. Like,
we're just asking you to do it one. We're just asking you to do it one time, potentially, maybe once a week.
When somebody's being mistreated, stand up.
Not even once a week. When it comes by your desk, be fair. When it comes by your desk, be fair. Don't default to the usual aggressive. They're being melodramatic.
Oh,
The chip on the shoulder. Just listen to the whole case and don't be colorblind. See color, acknowledge it, but just don't be like, oh, because we all know the eye roll. We all know that, and it becomes fatiguing. It becomes, and you think to yourself as a Black person, well, how do I come forward when the thing that's stopping me from coming forward is my color? And people want to package that in being colorblind, which then erases my color, which isn't helpful. How do I come forward when they've not only made a judgment based upon my color, but they have built in their own minds a whole culture of it? Meaning they assume that you come from a broken home. They assume that you come from a poor family. They assume that you're poorly educated. They assume that you've pulled yourself up out the deepest depth of poverty to be able to grace their presence. It's not always the case.
No, of course it isn't. You know, that's my point about everybody's...
that part that...
For me, the most troublesome thing is a superiority bit, where they assume that you're not as good. And for me, like that one thing, the message that goes when you have to constantly question yourself within the workspace, in a community, even a forum like this, you know, where you are trying to use your experiences to help other people, you know that somewhere you're still going to get flack for it. Like,
listen, what do you mean somewhere? I spend all week, Sabah, like dealing with sodded idiots.
It's so real.
Idiots who want to come for me, and I'm thinking, you're brave because, like, you know what, the way my mouth is reckless these days, like, I could be saying everything and be airing out all your business, all of your business, all of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just thinking of all the people you want to come to, like the quiet, shy people, because they're too worried about, you know. So, look, I don't give a shit. This is what I want to say to people: like, keep coming because I could. Yeah, I'm gonna air it all. a brave soul. However, but not everybody, because, you know, there is a to some extent, I always say there's like a carefreeness now in being able to say the things that I've always wanted to say. So therefore I am not so affected. Like, it still pisses me off and I'm still human. So I still, for all of the great stuff, I still zero in on the few people that can't see shit of what I'm talking about. But on the whole, you know, it's exactly the same challenge I put to myself that I put to, you know, allies of all colours, really, whether this is Black people thinking about speaking up or not speaking up, whether this is about, you know, white people really understanding their position of power that's afforded to them because of their colour of their skin, is, do you know what, it makes it a lot easier to push forward and do the right thing when you stop making it about you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It honestly, and I have to, and I know you do have to kind of look at the precipice and just think, shit, I'm going to just jump anyway. But it makes it a lot easier. And I think now, I hope, just kind of bringing this conversation to a close, because we got so much more. There's so much more stuff we need to talk about. But this is about understanding that, like, I keep saying this, but these excuses, and I know that in your minds they're excuses, but you have to challenge yourself to go, is this a reason or is this an excuse? And am I saying this because it's for the greater good, or am I saying this because it's about me and my discomfort? And every single time, and this is like a daily and hourly challenge that you have to keep pushing yourself. And, you know, and fundamentally, I just say to people, it's like, what type of person do you want to be, right? When your children say to you, because they will do, like, what did you do during COVID-19? How did you help other people? When realistically, the civil rights of 2020, because the civil rights movement, because let's be honest, that's what this will be referred to. What were you doing? In the same way, when Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were doing their thing back in the 60s, it's almost like, and as white people, you're looking at your forefathers and going, where were they? Were they the ones pushing, shoving Black people into the street? Were they the ones, you know, were your ancestors before that the ones bringing their kids, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, to go and laugh at slaves that were lynched off the tree? Like, so when I say to people, like, pick a side, yeah, because history has shown in every sort of situation like this, you have to pick a side and be comfortable with that side that you picked. So you cannot be talking about being a business of culture and values, and you stand for the right thing and you want to do the right thing. And there are many burning platform issues, but this is a pressing burning platform issue. And if you can't move past your discomfort to address this as a business, to address this as a leader, to support people on a human level, then that says more about you as a person. You know, so you carry on being silent, you carry on asking your black employees to draft your press release, you carry on moaning about statues, you carry on, you know, defending the fact that racism doesn't exist in the UK, you carry on gaslighting black people who are sharing their experiences, you carry on talking about all life matters, you carry on.
And I'm not trying to be provocative here.
Oh, you liar! You liar! Why are you lying? Why are you lying? Why are you lying? Wait. She's lying, Sabah. I know. She's lying. Go throw your grenade. Throw it.
But listen, let me just say this, right? For every black person that works at any sort of company, if you feel uncomfortable saying something, that tells you should say something. Don't preserve your company's reputation. It's not worth it, because the only person you're sacrificing is yourself. So right now, if there is any single moment at this moment where black people remotely have any sort of sway and push, the sway and push you have is your voice. Now, if you feel your company wouldn't like it, then speak. My phrase today has been sing like a canary.
That's my phrase. Why are you stealing my phrases?
Are you serious? Listen, I've been saying that like five, 6 times today. I just say, sing like a canary. Why? Because all these companies are trying to preserve their reputation. And if the one thing you can do is push them into a place of discomfort, it's not you're doing it because you don't like the company, it's doing it because you want the company to be better. You want the company to be better for black people, and that means they have to also be in a position where they feel uncomfortable and it motivates them to learn. A reputation can be rebuilt, but if it can only be rebuilt on the fact of or it can only be rebuilt if the company's really willing to change. But if they don't change, then everybody knows that they're not anti-racist, they're just BS merchants. But that's what everyone has to be clear about.
Mm-hmm. Sabah, I'm going to go to you for final words. You've got final words before we close this session out for today.
So I just want to add that I think at every stage in an individual's life, you face that, that precipice. Do you stay in fear, ancestral shame and guilt for either allowing yourself to be conquered, as I've been reflecting on recently, about colonial history and about how Asia dealt with it? Do you stay in your respective shame and guilt? And for my white friends and colleagues who struggle, who are good at heart, but just don't know how to have discussions around these areas, have probably never met diverse people, black, brown, or otherwise. I think everyone has to ask themselves the question, do I stay in my fear, shame, and guilt and stay silent and therefore allow the situation to get worse than it is? Or do I finally decide to speak? And more often than not, when you speak out, the consequences aren't that bad. You might get a few trolls. You might get people, being wanting to exit your life. But actually, were they the kind of human beings you wanted to keep in your life anyway? Are these the kind of organizations you want to stay in anyway if you can't even be your full self? If you're afraid and you don't have the privilege of speaking up, that's fine. But then at least evaluate how to find your voice and to get that support to find your tribe, because these are challenging times, but these are also times where you can use your voice and your experience to help others feel they're not alone, to help even other white people who are stuck and can't come out of it, to just give them a little stepping stone to say, stop being so afraid, call out other people that you're, and there are things that they exist. So they don't see that there are brave people as well out there who also happen to be white that are speaking. but just that you have to learn how to share your space and not be the person always in charge and always leading, and let somebody support somebody else to lead. Just make that choice for yourself. I think that's something everyone has to evaluate. Do you want to make that choice or not, or do you want to stay silent and, you know, let things be the way they are? And people will continue getting frustrated, and these kind of, you know, resolutions will keep coming around generation after generation. We're still where we were 20, 30, hundreds of years ago. We've marginally improved, but how much in real terms? So I just want people to consider that for a moment and then decide what they want to do next, because the silence, it's killing me. The silence is deafening. We just don't need the silence anymore, whether it's from ourselves and people like us, or it's from people that we really desperately are trying to get through to and say what you've been doing and what you've not been saying, and the fact that you still don't recognize that this is a real issue for so many people, that racism exists, that this is damaging, it's hurting us, it's causing us trauma, and we can't keep taking it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Thank you both, as always. Like,
pleasure.
2 days later, we got so much. Oh God, like the list is just like endless. But you know, but as always,
so many things.
So many things. But we will get to it. We will get to it. But yes, thank you so much. Have a fabulous evening.
Pleasure.
You too. Bye.
Bye.